Hello. Okay, so this is today's pattern. It comes to us from 1933. It's this gorgeous little pill hat and little tiny scarf set. Originally, the pattern was put out by Pattons and Baldwin. Now, Pattons and Baldwin is now simply Pattons out of Canada, and back then it was out of Canada as well. So for this set here, I'm going to make this two ways. This is the one I already made. This is for those who cannot get their hands on this specialty yarn. This type of yarn was used in the original pattern, obviously not the original brand, as Pattons, from what I've seen, doesn't make this anymore, which they called Feather. They don't make this anymore. I did pick up some Pattons Beehive Baby, which is it's basically a sport weight yarn. The pattern does call for all sport weight yarns, with the exception of this one here being so fine, you have to work it with something else. We will need two contrasting colors. The pattern calls for a dark gray and a light gray. It wanted a light gray and feather, a light gray 8-ply, and a dark gray 8-ply. So that's what I'm not using a dark gray. I'm using this gorgeous green that you can see only because I did not have a dark gray in the weight needed, but I did have this gorgeous green with these little flecks going through it. This was a gift from a viewer. You don't need much to make all of this. I needed one, by the way, this was also a gift from a viewer. So what I used to make the one I'm wearing, and you don't have to use this faux mohair type yarn. Of course, this is discontinued as this is vintage. You just need really two sport weight yarns, really. I used one whole one of these and then about a half of one. These are 132 yards a piece. This is what I used for the light color. And then I used one entire one of these for the entire set. And this is 257 yards for one ball. So that should give you an idea of how much yarn you will need. We are using a 4.25 millimeter, I'm sorry, a 4.5 millimeter hook for the entire project, and you absolutely will need some kind of a darning needle because sewing is a must with this one. Isn't this gorgeous though? This 1933 pill hat, I love it. I love the green color. This is sort of an olive green, olive drab, a dark olive. And I'm going to wear this. I think we need to bring these beautiful fashions back. And my husband really loves all of the things I make, and he is not at all embarrassed whenever I go out in public wearing my 1960s and 70s ponchos and things of that nature. But I went into the bedroom last night after I made this, and I said, well, I don't know how you're going to feel about me wearing this one in public because I 100% am going to, yes. So I already have some outfits worked around this. I've got this beautiful tailor to the waist coat that looks very similar to the one I'm wearing now, but this is just a shorty jacket. Some beautiful pants, a gorgeous belt, and some boots. And I am going to wear this out in public. Walmart is not ready for me. Okay, let's just dive right in. Today, I'm going to be making the second version of this. This is the version that doesn't require a specialty yarn. Yes, I did use this fuzzy mohair. It does talk about mohair in the pattern, but really and truly, as I'm working with this fuzzy mohair, it don't look like mohair. It looks like just regular yarn. So if you cannot get your hands on this specialty yarn, which I will leave a link for, and of course, all of the links I leave are not affiliated or anything. It's just a link. All you really need is just two sport weight yarns. Okay, so let's dive right into this. It's a very simple pattern, but I love it. We need this back in our society. We need this. If women dressed like this, men would feel obligated to wear a beautiful bowler hat, a nice tailored coat. Men would want to look as nice as the ladies that they're with. So let's do this. Let's do this for society. No, I'm kidding. I'm a little full of myself right now. Let's get into the pattern. So when I said you just need a 4.5 millimeter hook for the entire project, that was a big fat lie. I was not able to meet the measurements that they called for in the pattern. In fact, I did go beyond the measurements even with the rows, and I wound up using a 5.5 millimeter for the scarf. So I used a 4.5 millimeter for the entire hat portion, but I used a 5.5 millimeter for the entire scarf. And I went beyond the inches that they said. They said to work up to 32 inches. I don't even know how many inches it is. I worked until the green was all gone. And you can see it's still very short. It just 32 inches was nowhere near long enough. It was like this. It just wasn't long enough for what it looked like in the picture anyways. In the picture, it's kind of, and it may be that I'm bigger than her. Likely it's because I'm bigger than her. My shoulders are probably broader. I'm fatter. So she's a very tiny person. So 32 inches worked for her and probably worked for the majority of women in that era. But in the era of processed foods, we need bigger. So I'll measure this out for you when we get to the scarf portion, but I definitely went beyond the rows called for, and I used a 5.5 millimeter hook for this. This hat will fit a 22-inch size head, but it's yarn. So it'll obviously stretch and fit just about any size head. My son Justin put it on last night. He's 6'8". Okay, guys, now 5.5. Let's get into it. I ran out of printer paper, so I had to print on the back of already printed on deals that I took Sharpie markers to on the back sides. And so we're going to have a little bit of bleed through in my pattern. Larry is going to, look at that. Larry is going to stop by Walmart tomorrow night on his way home from work and pick me up some fresh paper. But in the meantime, this is what we have. So you can see at 32 inches, it drapes over her shoulder a little and then comes down to the breast area. It was nowhere near that big for me. So I just kept on going. So here is our pattern, you know, marks and all, but let's get right into it. It is quite tiny print. Okay, and of course you can pick this pattern up. You will find a link for this pattern in the description box down below. So let's go ahead, grab the 4.5 millimeter hook and grab your 2 DK or your 2 DK plus your little thin pipsqueak stuff. Just real quick, I want to give you guys a close-up so you can see how that novelty yarn makes it look. But you saw me in the beginning. You genuinely don't need it. It still looks great. Okay, very simple pattern, very basic simple pattern. It says the band is worked first. Take the ball of light gray and one of the dark gray feather. I'm opposite. I have my dark green and then a light gray feather. And that's because the company that I went through to get this didn't have any dark. Okay. Work them together, make 70 chains and join with the slip stitch. So it says that this is a 22, will fit a 22-inch head. So that's what I based my measurement on with the first hat I made. I crocheted 70 chains to see if it would reach, 70 chains to see if it would reach 22 inches. It did not. So no, it did not at first with the hook size that they recommended. I bumped it up to a 4.5 millimeter hook, and then I reached 22 inches with 70 chains. You know, different times, different materials. It's all different, but here we go. So 70 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I will be back whenever I have 70. I'm working all 3 strands together, by the way. I'm using the light gray as the carrier for the novelty thin, and then the dark. So there we go. I will be right back. I am at 20, just a hair under 22 inches. So this is, and I already wrapped around my head. It fits perfectly with plenty of room to spare. I don't have any hair, as many of you know. So it's going to fit me looser than it's going to fit somebody with a full head of hair. And obviously, Miss Ma'am has hair. Okay, so I am just a hair under 22 inches. I'm going to call that 22 inches. So now we need to join to form a ring. Of course, keeping your chain straight as possible. And if you're using the novelty yarn, It's going to be a little difficult at first to see what you're doing if you're not used to novelty yarns, which a lot of people aren't, because even though we may have used novelty yarns in the past, it doesn't mean that we're used to it every single time we use them. They can be a little bit fussy to see your stitch, but then you get used to it, and most importantly, you want to feel for your next stitch. Using your feelings, your fingertips is going to be important for that. So with this, we will be working a stacked single crochet instead of a chain 3 so that we have a nicer seam. Well, if I can even find it, there we go. This is my stacked single crochet seam. Isn't that wonderful? You really almost can't see it. You really truly almost can't. So that is what we are going to use today. It tells us to chain 3, but let's chain 1 and go back into that same stitch we joined into and work 1 single crochet. If you're not used to a stacked single, might be a little hard to learn with this pattern because of how fuzzy the yarn is, but here is the top of your stitch right here. The side of your stitch, you should have 2 bars coming down the side. This one here we call the forward loop. This is the loop that your working yarn is now jetting out of. That's what we're going to work back into and make another single crochet. So go into the side of that forward loop just like that. Pull up a loop and complete your single crochet. And this takes place of the chain 3. It's a nice full stitch. All right, we're going to work 1 single crochet. I'm sorry, 1 double US double crochet, UK treble crochet into every single chain stitch around. And we're going to do that for a total of 5 rounds, possibly 6. With this yarn combination, I only needed to do 5 rounds. I did 5.5 rounds. Actually, I did 5 rounds of double crochet, UK treble crochet, and then I did 1 round at the top of half double crochet or UK half treble because we're looking for 3.5 inches. And if I had worked another full double crochet, I would have had 4 inches. And I wanted to stick to the measurements. So I did 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I did 1 row of half double. I don't know if that's what we're going to have to do with this one. We may wind up doing a full 6 rows. We won't know until we get there. I've never worked with this material before, but already I'm in love. I am in love. Okay. So for the time being, work 5 rounds of US double crochet, UK treble crochet into every stitch around. Very easy. I'll be back when we're ready to join. We will join together and then we will start the next round together. Okay, I just counted to confirm I do have my 70 stitches worked now. So into the top of our stacked single, and it's going to be just like a regular stitch on the top. We don't have to worry about working into the top of a chain 3. Of course, with the novelty yarn, it's a little bit more difficult to see. There we go. Slip stitch. Now we just repeat this. Go back into our same stitch, pull up a loop, make a single crochet, go into our forward loop right here, just like that, and work another single crochet. Now this round should be a bit easier. We should be able to see our stitches easier. It was a little slow going for me working on the chain, but this way should be. And I am very happy to report that this novelty thread is not shedding on me. Nothing has shed so far. I was concerned because one person in the review on Amazon said that it was falling apart for them. And so far, it's not falling apart on me. And I'm not working loose stitches. This is quite tight, actually, because we have so much packed around just a 4.5 millimeter hook. You can see it. It's not shedding. It's not shedding or falling apart on me. Like I had said before, just work 5 rounds of the US double crochet, UK treble crochet. Then come on back and we will measure it and see what to do from there. This is going to look, I mean, look at this. This is going to look perfect, but with that gorgeous green instead of dark gray, which I'm super thrilled about. I love the green, love it. Okay, I will be back whenever I have 5 rounds completed. Okay, so after 5 rounds, again, I'm at about 3 1/4. So I am going to do 1 round of half double crochet to bring me up to 3 1/2 inches. So this is working out exactly like the first hat I made. So we're going to chain 1 and go into our joining stitch. I meant to yarn over first. So yarn over, go into our joining stitch and work a half double crochet. And let's work 1 half double crochet into every stitch around. And then we can cut, weave in those ends. These, now I have a bit of a gap down here. So I'm going to use my ends. I'm going to sew this portion here shut in the back. So yeah, just weave in your ends and then we will start working on the top portion that we will attach later. Okie doke. This is turning out so nice. Mine is definitely turning out with definitely more of a gray frosted look than the pattern. So from the way it looks to me, like they said to use the dark gray feather, which is the novelty yarn. They said to use the dark gray feather and then the light gray of the just the solid worsted, the sport. But to me, it looks the opposite. To me, it looks like they used dark as their foundation and then light for their feather. Mine is turning out definitely way more light. And I think that's because I am using the feather with a gray carrier. But if you wanted it to look more dark like this, I would say get you a dark carrier and your dark sport weight along with your light feather. I think that is how you can achieve more of a this look. Because, yeah, mine is definitely going to be light. Okay, I'm going to finish my half double crochets all the way around, and then we will begin the crown portion. Okay, let's work the top part of the cap, the crown, and yeah, my nails are different. You might notice I was missing a nail here, and so I decided, let's just put a whole different set on. Why not? So, all right, so we're going to start off with a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we are just using our dark color. I'm just using the dark color, the dark green. That's why I have this right here. And we are still using our 4.5 millimeter hook. Let's form a ring. We're going to be working in the rounds. Okay, let's start with the chain 3. That's going to count as our first double crochet. After this first round, we will be working with the stacked singles. So let's work 11 more double crochet into the ring. That's going to be US double crochet, UK treble crochet. So what we're looking for is a total of 12 stitches in the round. And the chain 3 counts as 1. Okay, so I will be right back whenever I have got 12 double crochet worked. Okay, let's join with the slip stitch in the top of the starting chain 3. There we go. Back into that same stitch, let's work a single crochet. And into our forward loop, work another single crochet for, that looks funny. Probably because I didn't chain 1 first. So you don't always have to chain 1, but I think in this one instance, we might. We might just need to. So chain 1, now we can work our stacked single. I think that's going to look much better. There we go. Yeah, looks better. And then work another double crochet into the same stitch For this round, we are looking for 2 double crochet into the top of every stitch from the previous round. So now we're going to go from 12 stitches to 24 stitches. There we go. I will be right back. I'm going to work this all the way around. That's two double crochet into every stitch around. All right, let's chain 1 and work our stacked single into the same stitch. We work another double crochet for our increase. Into the next stitch over, we just work 1 double crochet. Next stitch after that, we work 2 for an increase. And this is the repeat all the way around. We will work 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then an increase of 2 double crochet into the stitch after that alternately. So you can see there we have 2 that we started off with, then 1, then 2, then 1, then 2, and that's how it's going to be worked all the way around. You should end with 1 double crochet to work before the very first increase we started with. So work this all the way around. I will be right back. Okay, now let's join with the slip stitch to the top of our starting stacked single. And we're going to do something a little out of the norm from what most of us are used to. We're going to repeat the last round. We're not going to do what we would typically do. So we're going to start off with an increase. So the 2 double crochet into the starting stitch, then just 1 into the next, then 2 into the next for the increase, and then 1 into the next. I know, unusual. That's not how we typically do it, but that's how this pattern wants us to do it. Doing the hat portion, the crown portion, is a little bit different. So I wouldn't jump ahead if I were you, because each row is going to be different. Okay, so continue to work the exact way we worked in the last round. This is 1, 2, 3. So continue to repeat round 3 in round 4. I will be right back. Okay, let's join with the slip stitch to the beginning. Top of the stitch there, chain 1, work our stacked single as our first stitch. Go ahead and increase right here by working another double crochet into the same stitch. Now we're going to do what we typically do, and we're going to work 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and then work an increase after that in the next stitch. And that's going to be 2 double crochet into the same stitch. Now we work 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. And we work an increase in the next after that. And 1 into each of the next 2. This will be the repeat all around. So you can see there we started off with our increase right here. Then we worked 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, increase, 1, 2. The next stitch will be an increase all around. I will meet back up with you when we get back around to the beginning. Just join with the slip stitch at the top of your starting stitch. Okay, now for this next round, round 6, let's start with our stacked single. Work our first increase by adding another double crochet to that same stitch. Now we're going to work 1 double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. And then work an increase into the 4th stitch over. And this will be the repeat. 1 double crochet into each of the next 3. And then an increase in the 4th. So you can see there we started with our increase, and then we worked 1, 2, 3 single crochet, increase, 1, 2, 3 single crochet, and then an increase. Okay, so keep working that all around. I will meet back up with you when we get back around to the beginning. You just go ahead and slip stitch into the top of your starting stitch. Okay, that's round 6 done. Now round 7 is going to be very easy. We're going to start with our stacked single, and we're going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch. So we've just worked 1 into this stitch. Now the next stitch over, and let's work 1 US double crochet, UK treble crochet into every stitch around. Join with a slip stitch as we have been. I will be right back. That's all we're doing. Okay, now we just have 2 rows left. The pattern calls for 3 more rows, a total of 10 rows, but I found that to be wildly too big. Again, we have to make room with these vintage and antique patterns. We have to make room for the fact that they're different materials. And while the hook sizes may say, 4 millimeters, then little differences here and there. Different brands have different hook sizes. Their idea of 4 millimeters, their idea of something that is sport weight. So we have to make room for that. So I found that working to 9 rows is still too big, but it gives enough room for hair. I don't have hair, so I took that into account as I was making my first hat. I thought to myself, I don't have any hair to stuff under this hat, but somebody else likely will. So I wanted to make room for that. If we work to round 10, it's just going to be horribly lumpy and chunky on the sides right here. So I found 9 to be quite a happy medium. Now, if you have no hair like me, or very short boy hair like me, or maybe you're a boy, then I would just stop at 8 if you want it to be a nice, snug, seamless fit. But I'm going to work until the 9th row, and you saw how it looked on me. It really didn't look lumpy or weird, so I think it's fine. So for round 8, we're going to work an increase round. So we're going to start with an increase as we have been, right there. 2 double crochet into the first stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. Sorry. 2, 3, and 4 with an increase into the 5th stitch over. And that's the repeat all around. I split the yarn there. Yep. Okay. And then we work 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, followed by an increase in the 5th stitch over. The next round, round 9, is going to be 1 double crochet in every stitch around. And that's how it is on the pattern as well. The pattern has it to where we work round 9 and round 10 with 1 double crochet into every stitch around. So again, I'm opting to stop at round 9. This that we are working on now is round 8. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's my increase. So go ahead and work rounds 8 and 9. This is your increase round. Round 9 is 1 double crochet into every stitch. If you want to stop there, go ahead and cut. And then we're going to start sewing. Okay? If you want to continue on, then the next round, which is round 10, is again just 1 double crochet all around. So rounds 9 and 10 are 1 double crochet. So it's entirely up to you. I will be right back. I'm going to work 2 rounds. Okay, now we're going to assemble the 2 pieces together. I have my darning needle here and a very long, probably, I don't know, way too long, okay? Probably like 2.5 feet of thread there of the matching color to this. Okay, so what we want to do is, right, that's the top there. And we're going to take this top part here and count 2 rows down. 1, 2. Okay? And that's where we're going to sew things together. We're going to go through both loops on the crown piece, and then just find some stitches like that. And again, if you need to see, that is your half double crochet row. This is your double crochet row. We're going to be working on that line that borders, that joins this row with this row. So I'm probably confusing things. Just count 2 rows down. I'm certain I'm confusing things. Okay, and let's just go ahead and tie these 2 pieces together just like that, just a little bit, just to hold things in place. All right, and I will be doing a whip stitch on this. So now I'm going to come to the next stitch over and the next available stitch right here. There we go. And I'm going to do this all around, but the crown portion has way more stitches than we have available stitches on this edge portion. So some stitches, quite a few stitches actually, you're going to have to work together. So I'll show you what I mean. I just worked that stitch right there, right? So now I'm going to pick up a stitch on the crown portion, which has the overwhelmingly too many stitches, and come back into the same stitch I just worked into. That works 1 stitch off of the crown portion while not eating up a new stitch over here. Then we just grab our next stitch over, both loops, and come over here, and there we go. Okay, so I'll probably do for a little while until I see how things are looking. As I get halfway done, I'll do 2 stitches independently, and then my 3rd stitch, I will work it. Now is that, yeah, my 3rd stitch I will work into the last stitch I just worked into. So I just worked that one, so now I'm going to work 1, 2, so the next stitch over, there you are, and then my 3rd stitch over, I'll pick up those loops and put it into the last stitch on the the band portion that I just worked. So that's how I'm going to do this. That's how I did the last one. There we go. Okay, so I will be right back. I'm going to work this all around. That's 1. And with the fuzzier yarn, I am finding it's a little bit difficult for me to figure out where my stitch goes. I don't suppose it totally matters as long as it's not poking out the front. That's 2. So now I'm going to pick up this one and come right back into this one. And there we go. And it's not bunching it up too much. It's pretty even. So, but yeah, you can see how we have a lot of stitches on the crown portion compared to what we have available around. So just keep working that around. When you get back to the beginning, you know, tie it off together, weave in all those ends, and then we will start the little scarf, which is very fast and easy. So I just wanted to jump on here and show you that I'm not doing, I'm not working 2 stitches into 1. I haven't for several stitches now because I don't want it to be too bunched up like this, too crinkled. So I back off for a little bit and then I start joining 2 stitches into 1 again, like I showed you before. So that's how I'm doing it. You just sort of have to eyeball it and do it at your own pace, you know. You can work half. I guess I've worked about halfway around now and look and see how many stitches do I have left. How much do I really need to increase how many stitches I'm working together. Not working creases, but you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to go ahead and start working them together again. So I guess for about this many stitches, I didn't really join 2 into 1, but now I'm going to. So now I will pick up my next stitch and put it where I just worked my last stitch. So I'll work a couple of stitches over. So that's 1, and then 2, and then the third one, I'll go ahead and join it in to where I just worked. So I'll go ahead and do that for a little bit. So you just want to do it off and on, and, you know, kind of gauge where you need to be. You'll be able to figure it out as you go. Okay, so there it is, all finished. I'll show you my seam. There we go. And genuinely, if you have thin hair, if you have very short hair like me or no hair, I genuinely would not go past 8 rows. It just is going to fit you so much better. But okay, there is our hat. Now let's move on to the scarf. With the scarf, we're going to grab all 3 of our yarns again. And the 5.5 millimeter hook, chain 17. I will be right back. Okay, 17 chains made. Now you're going to work in, you can work in the side bump if you want to, or the back bump. I will be working in the back bumps, of course, with the novelty yarn. It's not as easy to see. You're going to skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th chain over, work a US double crochet, a UK treble crochet into every stitch. And this is the 1 row repeat. It's just row after row of double crochets. And I highly recommend that you start each row with, which I'll show you how I'm going to start the next row, but I highly recommend that you work each row with a stacked single. And let me measure out. At this point now, we can measure out the first one I made and see how long we need to work this for. Of course, I'll give you the row count as well, which I'm not sure what it is. I literally just worked until all of my green was gone. Okay, so mine measures 36 inches. Let me get you a row count. Okay, that is 55 rows exactly. Now, if you are not working with the novelty yarn, you can count your rows very easily. 1, 2, 3. If you are going to make your scarf with the novelty yarn, the rows are going to be a lot more difficult to count, to keep track of just by counting them manually. So I would recommend some kind of stitch counter, or just tick it off on a piece of paper. And that way, you know, when you're at 55 rows, you're done. You can measure it if you need to. Then we'll move on to the last piece, because this pattern comes with this sort of little slot here that you are meant to stuff this into. I know these days we have it to where we work it to where it's open stitched right here, but this is how the 1933 pattern was. And so that is what we're gonna follow in this, but you can of course do however you want, whichever way you prefer is just fine, because this pattern doesn't belong to me. It's your pattern, it's everybody's pattern. So you can do it however you want. But when we're done working our scarf, this will be the last piece. And then we can enjoy our beautiful work while everybody envies the crap out of us. I'm kidding. I'm just teasing. I'll be back. I'm going to work 55 rows. Actually, I will be back whenever we are ready to work row 2, so that I show you how I work up to the next row when we're not working in the rounds, yet we're working with a stacked single. So I will be right back. Okay, let's work up to row 2. There we are. First row done. So I do not chain 1. I just give myself the littlest bit of slack, but not a lot. And I turn, and into my last double crochet made, I immediately work my first single crochet, and then working in that forward loop right there, just like that, I work my next single crochet. Single crochet, sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Next stitch over, double crochet in every stitch to the end. I will be using my stitch counter because yeah, it's going to be a little bit confusing to try to keep track manually. Like what I mean by manually is by eyeballing it and counting. All right. I will be back whenever I have 55 rows worked. And of course, check the description box for details of yarn amounts needed. But this is what I have left over of that first ball. There's still a fair amount left in here. So I would say 2 of these are needed for the full set. Okay, and if you want it to look exactly like I am working it, there is still more than half a ball of this left. So yeah, it's working out pretty good. I'm going to leave links for those 2 colors, but I cannot leave a link for the green one because first of all, I don't think it's available anywhere anymore. But it was supplied in a kit. I don't know if that company is even selling it. All right. I will be right back. And after we work our last little portion with the little loop here, I'll do a try on for you of the novelty one. Oh, I love it. Oh, I cannot wait to wear this out in public. Oh, I can't wait. I would also like to point out that the pattern, I'll just show it to you. The pattern for the scarf portion calls for us to chain 13, and in the 4th chain from the hook, start working our US double crochets. And that is the repeat. Well, that would make this scarf about that wide, okay? So if you do pick up the pattern and you're following along and you're like, wait a minute, she said to chain 17, but it says to do 13. That's because I'm trying to make it work with our modern day materials. So, you know, that's what the reason is. So can you imagine? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There's 13 there. That is 13 across. Now 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th stitch over, and this is how wide our scarf would be right here if we followed their stitch count. Now their stitch count worked for the material that they were using in that day. Obviously their stitch count worked, although I'm struggling to see how that's 13 stitches. I just don't believe it. I think it's a mistake. But yeah, that is what it would look like if you had 13 stitches across, skipped 3, started in the 4th chain from the hook and worked on over. This is what it looks like with 17 stitches. Now we actually have 13 stitches worked across. So you're working 13 double crochet. I'll work this one here with you on camera. Boop. And then we go into that forward loop. There we go. And carry on. Okay, guys, I'll see you at row 55. Okay, now let's go ahead and work our finishing touch, which is going to be this little strap right here. So where I will be placing mine is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows down at the very bottom of that 8 rows. And let me tell you how much that is in inches, if that would be easier. 5.5 inches from the edge, exactly 5.5 inches. Okay, and that is where I'm going to sew it down. It's not going to go right exactly there because that's not centered, but that's where I'm going to sew it and then bring it across as far as it'll loosely stretch and sew it there. So what we have to make is very, very easy. Grab your 5.5 millimeter hook and what is left of your material. I have just enough left. Let me show you. Well, first things first. If you hear something in the background, my doggy is thrashing his little bear. Okay. Here is what I have left of the second ball of the fuzzy yarn. So 2 are needed. And here is what I have left of just that one ball of the green. So that's more than enough to finish up what we're doing here. Okay. We're going to start off with our chain of 17 again. And basically create 15 double crochet, and that's it. There's just the one row. 1, 2, 3. I will be right back. And just like we did before, and of course I'm going to work in the back bumps. And we count 1, 2, 3 chains back, and in the 4th chain, we start working our double crochet all the way to the end. I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. Chain 1. Cut quite a lengthy tail. I'm just going to go ahead and do all 3. And that's not shedding, that's from cutting. That was from cutting. This is still not shed at all. It's really great quality. Like, I don't know, what kind of yarn would you call it? I'm not really sure. I like it. I like it. Okay. Here we go. This is where I want to sew it. So try to make it somewhat centered. So I think about right here. Then I'll come up and then back down, basically to the point of the stitch marker. Didn't do that one quite right, that last stitch there. There we go. Then I'll just run back over those stitches just one more time. I'll weave it in a little bit, cut, and there should still be plenty left on my darning needle to hit the other side. There we go. Well, we got a little something here. I'll just weave that in too. Okay, and I will just weave this under a little bit. That way. Come back up this way. And that should do it. I'm not sure what this is. I'm just going to cut it. Now there's still plenty left on there to sew the other end in. And so I'm not going to pull on it. I'm just going to let it relax. Just like that. And here we go. Leave enough for a weave in there. I'll come way over here like this and pull this corner over, kind of straighten it out a little bit. And then look. Yeah, that's good. It doesn't have to be perfect because as it's worn, it's going to be manipulated in different directions anyway. Different directions. You know what I'm saying. It's not going to be straight. It surely is not. And let's go back down this way. I'm actually going to pull this through as well. Pull this through to the other side and weave it all in. So I will do that really quick off camera. There we go. And then I've got my ends here to weave in. So I'm going to weave all of this in, and then we will do a try on. And I have something kind of silly. I have a costume wig that I bought for my 1935 gown for my mannequin. And I thought I would wear it to try to make it look somehow even remotely kind of close to this. Not for seriousness, just because I happen to have the wig, and so why not? Okay, what do we think with the wig? I feel like this is actually kind of, I know it's 1930s. I feel like it's also giving me 1960s, very, very 1960s. I love this. I love this so much. And I love that green. I want a whole coat that color. But what do you guys think? Here is how it looks. I feel like I look like a flight attendant from the 1950s and the 1960s. I really do. And that's another thing. If you, oh, look at this wig, by the way. This is a costume wig. It's not a for real wig. If you were to put the wig on not crooked, I'm sorry if I'm moving you around a lot. It's a very 1960s hat. Very 1960s. I'm going to take the wig off because it's very itchy. It's just not comfortable. But here is how it looks just straight on, up and down, you know, the way it's looking. And then here we go, off to the side, my favorite way of wearing it. Sorry if I'm moving you around so much. Okay. What do we think? For real? Isn't this absolutely beautiful? Oh, I love this so much. I'm obsessed with this so much. Philip Morris girls, you know, from the 50s, the 40s and 50s. Okay. And there we are. And we're ready for a night out on the town. I love it so much. What do we think? Seriously. And this green, oh, this green is just stunning. I want a coat this color. Anyways, are we ready to go out for a night of movies? And I don't know what the lingo was in the 30s, you know. Razzmatazz, I don't know. Okay, guys, so this is it. This is the tutorial, the final product. Now, you see how it looks with both styles, and both styles are, look at this hair. Come on. Oh, man. Both styles are wonderful. Wonderful. I love wearing it off to the side like that. It's so sassy. It's so sassy and so feminine. I know I just was like all, both styles are phenomenal. You can't lose. It's a win-win. So yeah, you guys let me know what you think, okay? I'm really excited about this pattern, and I can't wait for you to see the next one. Oh,